Hey, welcome back to Yoga for Your Work Week. This PM practice is called Unwind. Depending on how your days present themselves, chances are there are things that get twisted and bound up in your body and your mind. And my hope is over the better part of half an hour together, we can help ourselves to kind of loosen the grip of some of that. Just take the opportunity to slow down and unwind. We're going to start in a seat. That can be anything. So feel free if in your body you like to sit up higher on something or change to a kneeling position. Any cross-leg variation will do. Ideally sit in a way that you don't feel pressurized through the hips. So sitting higher helps to take pressure out of the hips and the back. Try to loosen the grip of your upper back and your shoulders. Balance your head right up over your heart, right up over your hips. And close your eyes. And the first couple of moments invite us into ourselves. Enjoy this opportunity to feel a unpressurized breath moving in and out of your body. Reacquainting ourselves with the movement of what yogis from thousands of years past would refer to as our life force. Notice if there are sticky places along the path of breathing that feel like they're a little restricted. See if by breath in and breath out, breath by breath, we have the opportunity to loosen off into these spaces, to peel back any layers of tension that we might consciously or unconsciously have. Soften your jaw. Feel the soft release of your shoulders with your next exhale. And then if your attention hasn't been there yet, travel into the very lowest space of your lung capacity, into the lower base of your belly. And witness how these next 3 breaths can completely expand this lower space out into the edges of your ribs, up into your chest when these places are full. Let it go. Do that twice more. It might feel good to take a moment to connect with your heart, bringing a hand up over your heart space. And can we set a dedication to ourselves that for the remainder of this class we will stay true and present, that we will give ourselves the true opportunity to release anything bound up in the body or the mind that doesn't serve us. As we exhale, release hands down and crack eyes open. We're going to change the arrangement of our legs so the soles of our feet can come together and the knees can fall out open and wide. If you're in a body that you would like to support this by tucking something in under your knees or your thigh bones, go ahead. And then sit up really nice and tall. And when you feel the full lift of your spine, let the softness of your chin fall forward into your chest so the muscles of the back of your neck get a bit longer. Take a really releasing exhale here. And with an inhale, you're going to tip and roll your your left ear over toward your left shoulder. In these videos, I elect not to mirror you, so I do not confuse you. Release the weight of your shoulders down. Feel the length that forms on the whole rim of your right side neck. Take an extra breath. And when your exhale comes, travel your chin back through the center of your chest and tip right ear over toward right shoulder and pause. And I'm going to invite us to move side to side. So in my body, I like to inhale, come through center and tip away. And then exhale, come through center and tip away. If that's way too fast in your body, slow this down by exhaling through center and inhaling away. If you feel like you need more space through the shoulders or the chest, you could make sure your fingertips are directed down to the floor, walking away from the hips. If you're called in any way to take the head around in a big full roll, explore that. And whenever it is that you come back into center with your chin, pause there, and then use an inhale to pick up the crown of the head and pick up the shoulders in a roll, and exhale, drop everything back and down. You're going to keep the legs in this arrangement for one moment more. Bring your hands up into the front of your kneecaps or your shins. Use an inhale to roll your chest open, lift your gaze. And when your exhale comes, roll back onto your sit bones, let your chin fall forward, round the space between your shoulder blades. Good. Inhale, pick up through the breastbone, tip forward on your sit bones, lift the gaze up. Exhale, roll back, variation of seated cat pose. Good. Inhale, lifting high. And exhale, rolling back on the sit bones, rounding. One more cycle with your own breath. Slow inhale. Sweet exhale. Inhale, sit up really nice and high. Let the knees come back together, and we're going to kick and shift feet off toward the side. Walk yourself over to a tabletop pose. We want to make sure that our hips are stacked up over our knees, and then we're going to step our hands far forward toward the top of the mat, toward the space where we feel like we're starting to get a big stretch through our sides. You're going to keep your hips balanced over your knees and try to work your forehead down toward the earth. Now, for some of us, that's going to be way too much strain through the shoulders or the upper back or the neck. So if that's the case, you could choose to place something beneath your forehead so the earth comes closer, or even fold one forearm so the head can rest to the back of the forearm as one arm stretches long. You're going to breathe here one more. And if you've bent the elbow, consider changing. So we stretch out that arm, bend the other elbow so that we create a little pillow for ourselves. Long, big, full breath. And both hands stretching forward. You're going to look forward, lift your gaze up, and then bring yourself all the way down onto your belly. Bring your forearms to the earth with the fingertips facing forward, elbows collecting in toward one another for a variation of a Sphinx pose. We want to use the foundation of our forearms to safely keep our chest lifted while we feel the root of our hips and our pubic bone toward the earth. Take the tips of the heads of your arm bones, pull them back towards your heels so the front of the chest is open. And of course, if this is too much lift in the low back, you could always walk more of the rib cage down onto the mat so the elbows come further out in front of you. You're going to take one more big full breath up into your collarbones. And when your exhale comes, part your elbows wide, bow your chest. Bring your hands to frame your breastbone, and with an inhale, you're going to push through hands and knees. Make sure that we're in a place where our knees are no wider than our hips. The hands are about 8 inches in front of the shoulders, and we're going to pull our hips all the way back and up for a downward facing dog. And as always, when we get into downward dog, you might want to explore it by pedaling and moving and swaying and dancing around the back of the mat how it pleases you. Over time, as the body really opens to the expression of this shape, we should feel like our arms can stretch out long and the spine itself can stretch long. So there is no rounding through the spaces of upper back, and we can still keep that soft inner scoop of lower lumbar in the lower back. So we can still tip our tail high without rounding through the spaces of the back. Really good. From here, you're going to bring your right foot forward. I like to stretch my right leg up first. And then look forward to your hands. Use an exhale to bring right foot all the way up to the top. We're going to lower the back knee. And you're going to keep your left hand pressed on the floor where your right hand comes up onto your kneecap or your thigh bone. Push the chest open so you can use the right hand to revolve the chest open. Lean the tips of both shoulders back. Lean your ears back. And as we really open the chest into this space, sinking into any resistance that we're finding in the hips, you could choose to keep your hand on your thigh bone. Really nice way to just
release into the posture. Or if you want more space, you can slowly lift your right hand up off the thigh, stretch the fingertips actively up toward the sky, and take one more big full breath. Now when your exhale comes, both hands come down to frame your front foot. We're gonna pull the weight of our hips back. So you come to a place where your left knee can balance over, your left hip over your left knee, and your right heel kicks forward. Now if this is way too much of a stretch in the back of the legs, catch onto blocks or books or something that you can walk yourself up onto so that you have more space through the back, through the chest, through the back of the leg. And then pull actively your right toes back towards your shin and your heart towards your toes so you can really feel the edges of this stretch. I'm gonna take one more big breath here. And when your exhale comes, you're gonna walk it forward. So your right foot can come back to the floor, your knee's gonna stack your ankle, and your back knee's gonna lift so we can pivot our left foot for warrior one. This means our back foot's about a 45-degree angle or so. Steady through the feet, lift your shoulders up out of your hips, everything tracks forward, hips and heart roll forward. And you can choose to have your hands nested into your chest, or if it feels good, keep your belly drawing in, and maybe your arms stretch up to the sky to help you lengthen through the spaces of your sides and your rib cage. Soften your shoulders down out of your ears. Take one more big, really purposeful breath. Good. When your exhale comes, hands are gonna come down to frame your right foot. You're gonna push to step to the top of the mat. When both your feet are even, inhale your chest up halfway. And then exhale, let this go and fold. Flex through your knees quite a bit, fingertips to the floor. We're gonna widen the feet, so toes are gonna turn into opposite turnout, and we're gonna try to drop hips down toward heels into yogi squat. I know we all take yogi squat differently. You can keep yours high, you can use your fingertips, you can pop your heels up. Over time, we're looking for this sink. We're gonna try to walk our elbows into our inner thighs, lift our heart toward our thumb, breathe a big breath. Okay, and then it's time to release it. Fingertips to the floor, your hips up, head down, pivot on your feet back to regular forward fold. Good, come halfway up with an inhale, and then fold and let this go. Bend your knees, plant your hands, step both feet back to the length of your downward dog. Clear a big, full body breath. When your exhale comes, bring your knees down to the floor. You're gonna keep your hips stacked over your knees. Walk your hands another foot further forward, really stretching the space of the upper back, and try to release your forehead to the floor. Now remember, you could always take this posture with the support under your forehead, whether that be a forearm or a block or a blanket. You have 3 more big breaths here to stretch the length of your spine, however it is that you're choosing to do that. And with an inhale, you're gonna lift your gaze up, lower your elbows down, and slither your hips down onto the mat. Fingertips spread out wide so we can feel the foundation of our hands to the floor. Lift and pull your chest up. Draw the very tips of your shoulders back away from your ears. The collarbones are open, and breathe a beautiful breath here. And really feel the weight of your hips helping to ground to the earth, keeping low back safe. Last breath. And push into the connection of your hands. Use an exhale to part your elbows. Slide hands back beneath shoulders beside breastbone. Push through hands and knees to rise or into a safe table. Hands are well in front of the shoulders so we have room. And we're gonna pull hips all the way back and up for downward facing dog. For some of us, we're gonna wanna clear our breath. Remember your left foot through to your hands at the front. I'd like to lift my left leg, take a stretch, and then look up toward your hands. And bring the left foot up to the top. Lower your right knee and keep your right hand to the floor. Remember, you can flatten it, you can tent it, you can always elect to bring a block under your shoulder. Left hand is gonna come to the thigh bone, and you're gonna roll your whole chest open to the whole left edge of the mat. Draw your chest open, draw your ears back, pull the shoulder blades onto the back. Good. This is a really nice space to roll open the space of the front of the chest and the shoulders, so you can stay here, or if you feel like you need a little bit more space, you can reach this hand up off the thigh bone, reach actively your fingertips to the sky. Breathe one more. Now when an exhale comes, hands come down to frame your front foot. You're gonna pull the weight of your hips back, so your right hip stacks your knee and your left heel pulls forward. Find some connection here, get length through your spine again, so pick up your heart toward your toes, and then pull your toes back toward your shins, so we're active.
Breathe deep and full into the spaces that really start to feel the effect of your posture. And then slow and steady, we're gonna bring ourselves forward. So you're gonna bring this foot back down to the floor, and with hands framing the foot, pick up your back knee and pivot the back foot for warrior one. Again, that puts the back foot kind of at a diagonal. Your heels can be in alignment or slightly uncrossed. I like mine separated, so there can be a line drawn between them. And then reach up through center so that our hip points and our heart roll forward. Hands can nest into the chest, or fingers can reach to the sky. I'll leave that to you. Make space. Curate breath. We have 2 more. And every exhale is an opportunity to unwind the tight grip. When your exhale comes next, hands come down to frame your front foot. You're gonna push through that and step up. Come halfway up when we get here. And then bow and let it go. Flex through your knees, bring your fingertips to the floor, heel toe your feet a little further apart. Toes are gonna come into opposite turnout, and when you're steady, you're gonna sink your hips down towards your heels into Malasana Yogi Squat. Remember, you can take a variation that serves you better. Some people even like to take their block and tuck it in under their seat, so they literally have something to connect their seat to. Chest rises, last big breath. Awesome, release your fingertips. Come all the way down. Stretch your legs out long, give them some space. We're gonna keep the left leg long to begin, and you're gonna cross the right foot so it can come flat to the floor on the outer edge of your left leg. Now there's an opportunity, if it works in your body, to cross the left heel to the outer edge of the right sit bone. My warning would be, please make sure that both sides of your seat are pressed to the floor. If you're sitting only on the left side, you might choose to straighten this left leg until you get a little bit more openness through your hips that will allow you to settle into that space. Alternatively, you can take a folded blanket under your hips, and that might give just enough lift that everything can stay grounded and still crossed. This is totally up to you. Sit up super nice and tall. Keep the spine lifted, and you're gonna keep your left hand holding the front of your right kneecap. Your right fingertips are gonna come behind you. So set yourself up on tall fingertips so your your arms get an extra couple of inches. Pull up high, and then from the base of your breastbone up to the crown of your head, peel your chest open as you revolve over toward the right side. Now there's 2 ways to take this twist into a sensational point. I really like to use my hand or my elbow to hug the right knee in toward me, really giving myself some space to light up the outer edge of my right hip. That's a place that tension tends to wind up for me. If you would prefer to take the twist into a little bit more opening, you could change the arrangement of the back of your forearm toward the thigh bone and revolve this space open. Remember that we don't want to change the breath. We're just looking to find a reasonable sensation in the body with a full breath. Take 1 more. And with an exhale, turn forward and unravel. Unwind the legs. We're going to do the whole thing on the second side. This time, right leg stays long and left knee bends. Sole of the foot touches down on the floor, spine is tall. You could elect to stay with the right leg straight, or you can bend the knee and see if it's possible to nest the sit bones to the floor with both knees bent. Might or may not be an opportunity that feels good in your body. Right hand's gonna stay to the front of the left kneecap, and left fingertips come behind us to help support the space of our spine as we lift through the base of the belly and revolve our chest and our shoulders open to the left. The neck is the last thing that travels, so we don't need to really torque into the pressure of the neck, trying to point our nose far back behind us. It's an organic unraveling. And again, you can stay with your right hand or the crook of your elbow, drawing your left knee towards you. Or maybe you like this leverage of elbow to the top of the thigh to really press into your own space, helping you potentially unwind extra tight spaces that are in the body. Last big full breath here. And when your exhale comes, turn forward, let your fingertips support you, unravel the legs. And then I'm gonna invite you to take your legs out really nice and wide. In my body, when I get here, lots of bodies that I observe, it's really helpful to literally manually take a pull of your sit bones and your inner thighs in and back. And then onto high tented fingertips, draw these guys back behind you, lengthen your chest up, draw the tips of your arm bones down. Lifting, lifting, lifting through the base of the spine. This really starts to light up some of the spaces of our lower body. So if you're feeling a lot of soft sensational action to your inner thighs, to your hips, to your hamstrings, stay. You're in a perfect place. Close your eyes, descend your shoulders, breathe. There's nothing to prove. If you're in a body that you know you have quite a lot of range through the hinging of your hip crease, you can bring your fingertips forward to the inner edge of your pelvis. Continue to pull length through your low spine, lifting and shining it out through your chest. And maybe you're gonna wanna walk yourself in a bit deeper. Bodies like mine, this is a pesky pose, so I'm just gonna find a place where it's manageable to breathe fully and expand into my own awareness, my own ripe sensation. Wherever you are, we're gonna take 3 more. With your next inhale, walk yourself up really nice and slow. Use your hands to help guide. Pull the knees back into bending, soles of the feet to the floor. And then we want to make sure there's plenty of room for us on the mat. We're going to lower down onto our back. When you get here, for just a soft moment to rebalance the back body and the front of the hips, you're going to set your feet to the floor as wide as your hips with the knees bent. Heels are going to come quite close to the back of your seat. Lay your elbows tightly into your rib cage with your fingertips pointing up toward the ceiling in a robot arm variation. Plugging through the space of your upper back, keeping your head nested and your feet evenly planted. Use an inhale and lift your hips up really nice and high. And we're just going to take a couple of breaths here. So squeeze the muscles of the legs so that you can feel the elevation of the hips as you ground your shoulders down. Breathe into the space at the top of your collarbones. Excellent, and then it might feel good to come down in a roll, so I like to use an inhale, pop up higher onto my tippy toes, lift my heels, and then use an exhale and roll your spine down really nice and slow. Awesome, when you get here, send your arms out wide. They can be in a T shape or have bent elbows so the back of the hands can touch the floor in a cactus. Separate your feet quite a bit wider so you can feel the edges of the mat under your feet, knees still bent, and you're gonna sweep knees side to side in windshield wipers. This doesn't have to be crazy dramatic. You're just gonna find a space where the hips are happy to have the femur bones sweeping around, feeling the sensation. And the next time both knees drop over toward the left side, we're gonna pause and leave them there. Now, of course, if this isn't a happy arrangement with the knees wide like this, anything feels unsupported through a hip or a knee or your back, collect the knees together so that there is some support between them and beneath them. And give yourself the room to just breathe a couple of breaths into this final releasing twist. Those of us that are happy with the knees wide, you can stay just as you are, and some of us are even happy to explore a slightly different variation where we cross the blade edge of our left foot to the lower space of our right thigh. You have 2 more big breaths. You're going to change sides, uncross if you've crossed, lift knees through center, and drop them both lovingly to the right. The same inquiries have to take place, so we'll take care and find kindness for this body if we need to gather the knees into better support or even prop in some way. Some of us are happy to stay as we are. Some of us really like that feeling of a cross. But you might be interested to see, particularly if you had a knee injury on one side or an ankle injury on one side might feel very, very available where the other does not. Breathe into your unwinding here for 2. Now cross your ankle when you're ready. Use an inhale, lift the knees up through the center toward the ceiling. Rebalance your hips, and when you're ready, hug knees in toward your belly. Soft rock, or sway, or be still. And from here, release Feet down to the floor, maybe even take the opportunity to stretch your legs out long, lay your arms open beside you. Feel the space where hopefully the body has unraveled and been unwound, and there is now an opportunity to rest. Choose to take that opportunity here for a couple more moments, or maybe prepare yourself for a good night's sleep and continue this relaxation in bed. Thank you for practicing with me again. The light that burns within me, it deeply, deeply bows to that same light that burns within you. Namaste.